If you're ever asked to shade 100% of something, you would just shade the entire shape. You would take this here and you would just color it all in. All of them. And that would be the answer. If you're asked to shade 120%, now that's going beyond the full shape. You got to go into a second one and you would do 100 here. You would make that all gray. And then you would color 20 more in. So you would go like this, and let's just color it by hand and go like this. Go all these, I'm going to color this whole thing and that whole thing. And assuming I colored all of them, this would be 120%. That would be 120 blocks. Moving on, we have 1%. You just color 1 out of 100. But what if we get to 0.5%? Some of you right now are thinking, oh, I know, Mr. Melham, you just color half of this shape here. See, it says 0.5%, so I'm going to color half of this whole thing. And that's where you are making a mistake, because this is not asking you to shade a half of this thing. It's asking you to shade a 0.5%. See, you know what 1% is. It's 1 block. Now you have to shade in half of that. So what we can do is make an arrow out of that block. Let's make it big so we can see it better. And then we're going to shade half of it. Like this. And that's what it's asking us to do. To shade in 0.5%. See, that's what it says. It says 0.5%. And that's what this would represent. Now, let's look at the difference, because people get messed up with these. They're like, well, half is 50%, so why wouldn't I shade 50% of it? Well, technically, yes, you are right. Half is 50%, but we are not shading 50% of the whole thing. We're shading 50% of just a percent. So look, we're going to make this big, like what we did before. We're going to make it like this, and we're going to color half of it in, like that. Whereas in this one here, what we're doing is we're shading 50 blocks. So we're shading these 10, and we're shading these 10, and these 10, and these 10, and these 10. How much is that? 50? So that's what this looks like. And they look similar, except this is half of the whole thing, 50%, 50 blocks, whereas this is 50 blocks. Yeah, it is 50 blocks, but it's 50 blocks if you chop this little guy into 100 pieces and then shade 50 of them. That's half, right? So you're making half of 1%. Moving on here, we have 1/4 and 25%. And then people will be like, well, look, this is 25%. 1/4 is 25%. I once got 1 out of 4 on a test. I hope you didn't get 1 out of 4 on a test. But if you did, you would get 25%. Yes, you are right, but this is 25% of just a percent. So you're going to take this little guy, you're going to make him really big so we see him easily, and then you're going to find 1/4 of the percent. So here's 1%, really big. We're going to chop them into 4, and we're going to shade one of them in. That's what 1/4 of a percent is. Whereas this one here is 25%. That means you got to shade 25 blocks. So you're going to shade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another 5 here, and another 5 there. They look the same. See, I can even make a window here. Haha, I can do that. They look the same, except this is only a fraction of a percent, whereas this is a fraction of the entire thing. How about 3/4? Now look at 3/4. 3/4 is 3 out of 4 from what? A percent. So you got to take this guy again. You're going to make a big version of him so he's easy to see. You're going to color now 3 out of 4. Whereas this one is not 3/4 of a percent. It's 3/4 of the whole thing, 75% of the entire thing. So you're going to shade in 75 blocks. You're going to shade in all of these, 20, and you're going to go this, and you're going to go that, and you're going to go like this. You can even make a window. And then you're going to color all of these. And if you count them all, you're going to get 75 tiles shaded in. Now, how do we do this one here? This here is broken into 2 parts. You have the whole number, which tells you to shade in 120 blocks. So we will shade all of these. And then we're going to shade 20 more. So we'll shade this row and we'll shade that row. But then we have the fraction part. This is a fraction of what? Yes, it's a fraction of a percent. So we will just find any one. Let's take this percent here. A percent's really small, isn't it? And we're going to break that percent in half. And we're going to only use half of it. Half of a percent. So we're going to shade all of those and then the half percent. How about 145 and 2/3 of a percent? Again, break it into two parts. You have 145. That's going to be the whole thing plus more. And then we're going to shade 45 more. So that's 10, that's 20, that's 30, 40. And then we're going to shade 5 more down to here. And then we're going to shade 2/3 of a percent. So we're going to make, here's our percent, make them big, and break them into 3 pieces. And guess what? You're going to shade 2. Yeah, that's it. Just make it easy on yourself. Don't make it too hard. Life's too short to make things hard, man. Just do it easy. You got 102.2 now. Oh, Mr. M, you gave me a decimal. You didn't just do that, did you? I did, and I want you to do it. You have 102.2. We're going to shade 100. And then we're going to shade 2 more because it says 102. We're going to shade any 2 more. But then we have to shade in this part here. So what does that mean, Mr. M? Does that mean I have to take a fraction of a percent? That's correct. But how many pieces do you split it into? It's got to be 2, right? Because that says 2. No, you know what that says? That says 2/10. Remember the spot after the decimals called tenths? So this is really 102 and 2 over 10, which is 102 and 1 over 5. That's the better answer. They're both correct, but this is better because it's reduced. So we have now to split it into what? 5 pieces. And then how many will you shade? 2, right? No, 1. It says 1 out of 5. So you're going to go 1 piece colored in. Then you move on. You sip your soda, you lay back on your chair, and you do the next question, which is 0.2%. What is 0.2%? Well, again, break it into 2 parts. Here we have the 0, which means what? It means don't shade anything. Just leave a blank. Only shade the piece of a fraction. Sorry, the piece of the percent. So we have 2/10 of a percent, which is what? 1/5 of a percent. So we're going to find 1%. We're going to show him to be big, and then we're going to split him into 5 pieces. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're going to just color 1 in. So it's kind of like the one above, except we don't have the 102 before it. We just have 0, and we just shade that in. How about this one here? Okay, we got 0.5% here coming up again. What does 0.5% mean? Does it mean I have to shade half of this thing? That's where you'd be getting fooled if you did. Because 0.5% means you got to take a percent and you have to what? Make it big, yep. And then color half of that. Not half of the whole thing, but only half of the percent. That's kind of like saying 0.5%. So the 0 means don't touch anything, don't color anything, just color 5/10. Hey, what's 5/10? 1 out of 2. Exactly. So make your life simple. Just color 1 out of 2. That's done. And the 0 means don't touch anything. 180.4. Okay, we'll color 180. I'm going to do this just to speed it up. That's 100. And 80 is going to go up to there on all of them. So we'll go like that. We'll shade all this up to here. You know, I could use a highlighter option here, but that just take too long, and I just want the answer, right? We just want to get the answer. And then we're going to get 4/10 more. 4/10 of a percent. You know what 4/10 of a percent is? That's 2/5 when you break it down. So we need to find a percent, break them into 5 pieces, and shade 2 of them. And then you move on. Now here we have 0. Okay, so we don't touch anything. Don't shade any blocks. Just shade a part of a percent. So we're going to shade 8 out of 10. 8/10. Break it down. And then you're going to get, oh, okay, that's not bad. We'll take a percent, split them into what? 5 pieces. Let's do that. And then color 4 in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this one's 27. Let's change it to 25. Make it easier. We're going to shade 100 in first. 100%. So this is 100%. And on top of that, we need decimal 25 of a percent. Now what's decimal 25? It's 25 over 100. Right. Which is 1 over 4. Don't make 100 pieces. Just make 4 pieces. It's simpler. Remember, life is short. Just do it the fast way. And then you've got, make your window and shade 1 in. And this would be 100%. And this, let me write this down. This is 100%. And this here is what? It's 1/4 of a percent. It's so small. You know, 1% is tiny. Now take that 1% and break it up into smaller parts. That's what this is. It's 1/4 of a percent. It's so small. If this was money, you couldn't buy, what's 1 out of 100? 1 out of, that would be like a penny broken into 4 pieces. Let's get a little bit more advanced. We're going to represent this in the shadings. We're going to represent 25. So we're going to color 25 blocks. So we're going to go 20 over here. I'll do it the fast way. Let's go like this. Let's go 20. This is 10. We're going to go 20 shaded. We're going to go 5 more. That's 4 and 5. And then we're going to take 0.5 of a percent. And 0.5 is going to be what? 5/10, which is 1/2. So we're going to go half of another one. So we'll pick one. Let's pick the corner ones because it's closest. Make him big and shade half of them. Okay, that's fine. Mr. Melm, I get this. But what about all the stuff on the bottom? Convert it into a fraction, convert it to a decimal. How do we do that? Well, the best thing I would recommend you do here is take this and turn it into a decimal first. But Mr. Melm, it is a decimal. Look, I see the decimal there. Now listen, every number has a decimal. Even the percents do. If it's written like this, for example, you don't see the decimal, but it's still there. It's right at the end. We still have to move it back to convert it into a decimal. Right now it's a percent. So even though we do see a decimal here, and here we don't, until I put it in just now, it's the same principle. You have to get rid of this percent symbol by dividing by 100. So you're going to go 0.255. That's the decimal. Now what's the fraction? Well, once you've got the decimal, the fraction is simple. You take this number, you count tenths, hundredths, thousands, and you put it over 1,000. But wait a minute, Mr. Melham, you said before that percent means out of 100. Yes, it does. That's a great question. 25.5 is out of 100, but we don't like that decimal mixed with the fraction. So we bounce it one time forward and bounce it on the bottom one time forward just to make it fair. And then the bottom one, you're going to have to put a 0 there. And the decimal goes here, and you get 255 over 1,000. Now, what about this one? We'll finish off with this question. How about 12 2/3% into a fraction? Let's shade it first. I'm going to shade 12 squares because I'm going to break it into 2 parts. Here's the 12%. So I'm going to go 12%, 10, 11, 12, and then 2/3%. Okay, that's not hard. We'll just take a percent, chop it into 3, and color 2. But then how do we take this and turn it into a decimal, and how do we turn it into a fraction? To turn it to a decimal, look, this one was simple because we just bounced the decimal twice. It's a percent, so we find the decimal and we move it back twice. But here we don't see a decimal, we just see a fraction. That's no problem. You know what you do here? You turn that into a decimal. This here is 12 decimal. Now 2 divided by 3 is going to be 6, 6, decimal 666 repeating. Now find that decimal and move them back twice, and you get what? You get 1, 2. Now if we round it, we could go like this, or we can just round it and say 1, 2, 7, because look what's beside the 6. Another 6. And if it's 5 or bigger, remember the rule, you bump up, you round up. Now the fraction, we're just going to take this here and put it over what? Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So 127 over 1,000.